a young Caucasian teacher was picked up at Samoa's airport and taken to her room. This was her first teaching assignment outside the continental U.S. She unbraided her hair, gave it a quick brush, and began exploring her new town. But old Samoan women yelled at her, "Palagi, put up your hair." The young teacher ignored the rude women, purchased some items, and headed back to her room. While the sun was setting, she was greeted by another Caucasian teacher in the program. She asked the new teacher if she had her hair down in town. "Yes," the young teacher said, "and I was harassed by rude women." "The women were trying to help you," the other teacher explained. "They believe wearing your hair down will attract a demon." The young teacher laughed and said her God would protect her. The other teacher had to go, but emphasized to the young teacher that things were different here and she needed to keep her hair up in public and cover her mirrors at night, for that is when the devil uses them. The teacher chuckled and entered her room. That night, she had dinner, sent an email to her family, and got ready for bed. She scoffed her room's uncovered mirrors and used one. As she admired herself, the mirror reflected a shadow looming over her head. The shadow was Samoa's jealous demon, Teine. And this is Legends from the Pacific. Aloha, and thank you for joining us. This is Legends from the Pacific, episode 48, Samoa's Jealous Demon, Teine. I am Kamuela Kaneshiro, a professional writer, speaker, and Comic-Con panelist with extensive film and television experience. I study mythology, I've encountered unusual things, and I'm a geek. You can support us by getting 2 or 3 of your friends to listen to our show. This simple request greatly helps grow our show. In our opening story, you might have noticed the word palagi. That's the Samoan word usually used for Caucasians. We are officially in the year of the yin metal ox, so Happy New Year or Gung Hi Fa Choi. Go back and listen to episode 3 for Chinese New Year customs, traditions, and stories. Do you remember what Happy New Year is in Hawaiian? If you said, Hau'oli Makahiki Ho, good job. A big mahalo nui loa to our Fiji listeners who helped us rank first place in the Apple podcast category, Society and Culture. This was a big deal, especially since we beat the popular NPR podcast, This American Life. Once again, thank you very much to our Fiji listeners for making this possible. And please contact me or email me your feedback. I'd love to hear from you. Later in this episode, your featured song and Hawaiian word, but now, the Teine. The Teine are neither human or God. They are known for their beauty and can attract any mortal man they desire. But they are extremely jealous and will attack women if they are attractive, and especially if they're interacting with a man the Teine is infatuated with. Women also incur the Teine's wrath by enhancing their physical attractiveness. This includes wearing flashy or sensual clothing, wearing their hair down, or dyeing their hair. A woman wearing her hair down is seen as a deliberate attempt for attention. As for hair dyeing, this includes women preventing their gray from showing. Sorry, ladies, but hair coloring is part of Samoan culture if you're royalty. You see, a Samoan chief's daughter would dye her hair before a Samoan dance or siva to match her ceremonial headdress. This performance was one of the few times women could enhance their beauty because the dance was a celebration of a woman's sexuality. During the performance, the dancers' brothers would throw themselves face down in front of the dancer so she may place her foot on his back to signify the man's power and strength was submissive to the dancer's beauty and grace. Nowadays, non-ceremonial versions of this dance are performed by hula dancers with non-ceremonial headdresses. All mirrors in your house should be covered at night, and it is forbidden to brush your hair once the sun sets. While women are usually affected, some men have also been cursed. People claimed cursed relatives experienced rapid hair loss or went crazy and died. The following is a Legends from the Pacific original story and is based on cultural records. A young Samoan couple began a relationship. They respected their families, did their chores, saw each other every day, and planned their future together. When the young man was returning home from fishing, he heard singing. Following the singing, he found an attractive woman he didn't know was a Teine. The Teine was taken by the young man and complimented his handsomeness. He couldn't take his eyes off her long, beautiful hair, her pretty face, and toned body. She asked him to sit beside her. He approached her, but seeing his fish reminded him he needed to get home so his mother had enough time to make dinner. His eyes widened, remembering his grandmother warning him of beautiful women in the woods. Not daring to disobey his grandmother and disrespecting his mother or his beloved, the young man apologized to the beautiful stranger and ran home. The Teine was furious and followed her young man home. The embarrassed young man didn't tell his family about the beautiful stranger. They noticed he acted funny but didn't question him. The Teine's infatuation grew as she watched her young man finish his chores and went to see his beloved before dinner. The Teine donned her most seductive appearance and went to intercept him, but the young man's beloved beat the Teine. The Teine ducked into the shadows. Her blood boiled as her handsome man took the wretched girl to the stream. The Teine couldn't understand why her attractive man lowered his standards for such a common mortal who sounded like a baying animal, had stupid thoughts, ugly hair, and a slim body that looked frumpy. The Teine seethed in the shadows, but when the couple kissed, the Teine raged. She decided to show her young man how ugly this pathetic child was. Then he'd come for her, and she'd forgive his foolishness. The Teine followed the young woman home. She'd wait for nightfall, enter the mirrors. Then the Teine would possess her. The giddy Teine couldn't wait to expose how crazy and ugly this girl was. But the young woman respected the old ways and covered her mirrors before sunset. The Teine was furious and waited for the ugly child to comb her hair, but she didn't even do that. The Teine was sure the stupid girl would mess up and waited the whole night. As the sun rose, the Teine accepted she could only show how ugly the child's hair was. The upset Teine cursed the girl and hoped it was enough for her young man to leave this pathetic creature. The Teine fled into the woods and awaited her young man. The young woman woke, felt sick, and clumps of her hair fell from her head. She shared this with her family, who passed it off as stress. But her grandmother remembered a childhood neighbor lost a similar patch of hair in the same spot because she was cursed by a Teine. The grandmother took her granddaughter to a healer who removed the Teine's curse. The couple married and had a family, but always warned their children to beware of the Teine, who may still be waiting for her handsome young man. Coming up, your featured song and Hawaiian word. You can support us by becoming a Legends from the Pacific Patreon supporter. Along with improving our show, Patreon supporters help our goal of making longer episodes while enjoying a number of benefits, including new Patreon-exclusive monthly episodes. So become a Patreon supporter today. There are places in Samoa where people claim the Teine live. Offerings are left for them, and it is believed you're not to look at these places. Just ignore them and go about your business. If you see items near these places move on their own, or hear someone calling to you, it is customary to say hi, but not linger. Today, Samoans continue the customs of keeping Teine at bay, but many feel Western religions and missionaries use the Teine to demonize local customs and beliefs in order to perpetuate their religious agenda. There might be something to this, since this was seen in our previous episodes. On the subject of mirrors and modern devices like mobile phones, laptops, and tablet devices, I believe the jury is still out on if this is an acceptable way for women to use these devices as mirrors at night. I have always felt mirrors seemed more mysterious at night. Perhaps it's the shadows of superstitions lingering just outside our peripheral that fuels a sliver of dread within us. Or perhaps whenever we look into a mirror, as Nietzsche said, the abyss gazes back. If you like what you heard, please give us a rating, write a review, and share Legends from the Pacific with your friends and family. I'd really appreciate it. Join our email list to keep up with news about our upcoming book. Our theme song is Mystery by Tavana, courtesy of High Sessions. Sound effects are by Sound Effects Factory. Our music coordinator is Matt Duffy, aka DJ Triple Bypass. Links and show notes can be found on our website, legendsfromthepacific.com, including a link to your featured song, which is Hurricane by John Cruz, courtesy of High Sessions. Legends from the Pacific was written, produced, and edited by me, Kamuela Kaneshiro. I also wrote our original stories. Your featured Hawaiian word is ani ani. Ani ani means mirror. An example of ani ani is use an ani ani to look at yourself, unless it's nighttime. Once again, ani ani means mirror. As a side note, ani ani could also mean transparent, clear, or glass. Thank you once again for listening. Mahalo and a hui ho.
I feel like things might go my way. When I stop to think, it starts to rain.